Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of
Cause you don't know football.
Listen. Today's episode, this might be the best episode walking into it. In my opinion, this might be the best one yet.
Tariq, we are week 18, last week of the season, starting in about an
We
hour.
got through this, Tim. We got through this season, but man, the pressure's on. You know what I mean? Everybody's got to show up, but we got to talk about it.
I know, man. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, especially week 18. A lot of playoff picture um, on the line this week for some of these teams. But before we really get started, just want to say what a wild last week with the whole Damar Hamlin thing. Glad to hear that he seems to be responding well. Dude, we played football for a long time. Those hits happen
Every play,
thousands
every single
thousands
play.
of time in
That
the
hit,
in the United States, playing football thousands of times a weekend, and just absolutely insane, terrifying that happened. But glad to see that he's recovering. And let's pray that never happens again. Do not want to see that stuff happen on the field.
but I do think that this really gives people an insight on what we went through as football players. You know what I mean? Like, so like something as common as that could be life altering, career altering. So you know
Oh
what I mean?
yeah,
So it's just people don't really care until they really get to see it. But like we really
yeah,
put our lives and our bodies on the line. So, but I'm happy
yeah.
and I'm good call to bring
Well,
that.
yeah. Well, all right, let's rock. We're going to talk about couple of the big games that are happening this week. I know we had a few on the docket. Today is actually week 18 with we got a couple games. I think we just start with the first one we were talking about that's playing today in that AFC, right? That AFC South division
Yeah,
um
yeah.
decider. So between the Titans and
Titans
the
Jags.
Jags.
You know. Actually, when this came about, I remembered our episode a couple weeks ago where we laughed at the fact that we picked Jacksonville to win the division, and now they're once again about to win the
It's
division. So
here.
that joke's on us, you know.
I know. I know. Here we
so
go, right?
basically, so yeah. So let's see what happens. So the Titans have tanked these last. I mean, they. You know what I mean? Lost what they lose like six straight.
I'm trying to pull it up right now, but yeah, I think it hasn't been good for Ryan Tannehill and that crew over there. And to be honest with you, I think the Jaguars have gone the opposite way in the sense of they've won. What am I looking here? Four straight. Actually, put up points against Tennessee when
Mm-hmm.
they met a couple weeks ago. They put up 36, and Tennessee only scored 22. So Trevor Lawrence is starting to become that quarterback that he was expected to be as a number one pick. He just needed some time to figure it out. So I don't have much confidence that Tennessee gets there. I mean, they had a great streak in the beginning of the year, but you're right. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight that they have dropped and have not looked good in any of those games.
Yeah, at the beginning of the season, if we said these two things, one, Jacksonville was definitely going to win the division, no, and that Jackson was going to sweep Tennessee, we also would be like, absolutely not. They're not going to sweep Tennessee,
Yeah.
and both of
So
them things are looking like that's what it is.
yeah, man. I think we're probably in line here. Not to speak for you, but I do think Jacksonville pulls this out in convincing fashion. But let's just be real. If Tennessee pulls this out, they win the AFC South. They are will be 8-9 and have a losing record. So,
That's all
but
good.
look, once you get into the playoffs, that's all that matters, right?
That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Okay. All right,
And
cool.
just quickly I was gonna say just quickly to close that out. I think what I was looking at, where was that at? I believe in the end, if Jacksonville does lose, so if Jacksonville does lose, they're not technically out of the playoffs. They would need some help, but they would need losses by the Patriots, the Dolphins, and the Steelers, and they would still actually get into a wild card spot. So I think they pull this out, but doesn't mean they're dead in the water if it happens.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Pretty easy, pretty simple. All right. So let's move on to another game. Let's go over to the NFC games. So Seahawks Rams. Now, the Seahawks can win this game and still not win the division. I mean, still not make
Still
the
not
play.
make the playoffs. Yeah.
So but they have to win this game against a Rams team that we would all say underperformed. But is still highly talented. So this is no cakewalk for Seattle. Um,
Yeah, I would say underperformance and understatement. The Rams have looked bad all season long. Yeah, I mean, and they're playing with, I don't even know who their quarterback is or who's quarterbacking them right now.
Uh,
I honestly,
oh, it's Baker Mayfield.
it's Baker Mayfield. Okay, I forgot that he even went there. I know he. Oh yeah, he came over, had himself, that game. I think it was against the Rams, and since then he's had not the Rams, excuse me, he had a game against the Raiders where he ended up that comeback win. He's looks like 2-2 since he's been there. Um, Good and bad. Like, scored 51
Sounds like
against
Baker Mayfield to me.
yeah, scored 51 against a bad Denver team, but lost to Green Bay, lost to the Chargers. Both really good teams that we'll talk about a little bit as well. So I don't see much in the way of the Rams pulling this game out. But what are your thoughts?
Um, Actually, I think the Rams are going to win this game.
You think
So
they will? Oh
yeah, I
man.
do think the Rams are going to win this game. I think this is like their Super Bowl. Like this would be a division opponent once again. If I'm not going to make the playoffs, I want to make sure that you don't
Yeah.
either. And I think in this
You don't
kind of game, I like Baker Mayfield's mentality of
you don't
I
think
just want
Geno
to hurt
Smith?
you. I just want to
Yeah,
hurt you. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So in this situation, I do like him. I think the Rams come out and pull this game out.
You don't think Geno Smith closes his, I don't want to say Cinderella season, his comeback season, right? Like we're all talking about Geno Smith like looking good this year. You don't think he does that? He closes it, gives him a chance to make the playoffs with a loss by
Hey,
the
listen,
Packers.
listen. I think he gives him a chance.
Yeah.
I just think it's over. I think we saw the best of it. I think it's over.
Can I tell you just purely based off of my self interest here? I very much hope Baker Mayfield pulls it out, as you say, because that will lead us to our next matchup. And I want to say about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I said on this show, what about the Detroit Lions with a chance to
I was
make
telling you
the
about Detroit
playoffs?
since the summertime. I've been telling you about Detroit since the
I
summertime.
know, but weeks ago, I said Detroit Lions have a back end chance to make the playoffs. And you know what? If they didn't lose the other day, a couple weeks ago, they'd already have that seventh seed. And if Seattle loses, they go into Green Bay with a chance to make the freaking playoffs with like a 7 or 8-1
Yep, yep,
stretch. I'm
yep,
pumped about it. So I'm
yep.
really hoping Seattle loses for just for that reason.
Right. So, all right, let's talk about that game then.
Yeah, let's just move them. They got me fired up, man. Jared Goff,
Detroit Packers. This is the game that I'm most excited about this weekend. Detroit Packers division rivalry.
no.
I mean, two
They
teams
got
coming in. They both coming in hot. You know what I mean? Boom. Let's talk about it. Who you got?
and they got oh my god. So my gut goes with Aaron Rodgers pulls this off because I don't think, oh my god, Aaron Rodgers will be crucified if he loses this game and misses out on the opportunity to get back to the playoffs. So I do think that they're the favorites. They're in Green Bay, tough place to play. Aaron Rodgers been fairly hot. That offense has looked good in the last few weeks. What are they? They've won what? 1, 2, 3, 4 straight. Beating, Chicago is not a big beat. Rams not so much, but beat Miami. I think before Tua went out, and then beat Minnesota team they're in the playoffs and clinch that division.
Whipped up on
But
Minnesota.
yeah,
Whipped
but
up
at the
on
same,
Minnesota.
but whipped up on them, right? So they're playing Detroit tomorrow night. On that 8:20 game, I'm gonna go with as a pick the Packers. I think they pull that out, but damn it, Tariq. I hope we get that game and somehow Jared Goff puts those Detroit Lions in the playoffs because I think it would be phenomenal. Just what a run they went on.
Okay. So how I see this, I look at this as both of these teams are in the playoffs right now. They're playing. This is the first round matchup for both of them.
Exactly.
So when I look at playoffs, I look at what translates to playoffs. I think that's running game, that's defense, and that's quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Green Bay has better of all of those things.
Sure.
Then
Yeah.
I think Detroit as a team has a better top to bottom team. But I look at their home, they got the better quarterback, they got the better running game, and they got the better defense.
Yeah.
And kind of see if Detroit wins the game, I would say that's an upset. And I think that's something that you can do against Aaron Rodgers, but I don't think that that's what's gonna happen. I think Green Bay's gonna win.
Yeah, I mean, look, and in the end, like Detroit's defense has been terrible all year long, right? Like they have to score like 40 points. I looked it up earlier, stats wise. Detroit's defense is giving up the third most points in the league. It's over 400. Now they've also scored as an offense the fourth most in the league, behind Kansas City, Philadelphia, and Dallas. Right, so Detroit's like putting up points, but that's a boxing match. You just can't win all the time. And I think, to your point, Aaron Rodgers and that run game with Aaron Jones are going to be able to keep Jared Goff and that offense off the field long enough
Mm-hmm.
that if they can control that ball, that defense, Detroit's defense, isn't going to be able to stop
Absolutely not. They
Green Bay enough.
Everybody puts up points. There, see, Detroit is winning games 31-30, 35 to 28. This is how they're winning games. And I'm saying, yo, you got a defense that can do something about this. And that's why I just think,
Yeah.
boom.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think we're on the same page there. I really don't want to see Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs, but he's probably going to get back.
if this is everything pans out how we said, he will be back.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to the last game that we're going to talk about is Buffalo and New England. Now this game, actually, both teams really need this game. There's a lot of complications with this, with Buffalo getting that 1 seed and New England actually making the playoffs at all. So there's a lot that really goes into what's going to happen here. But yeah, Tim, talk to me. Who you got in this one?
This one's interesting for me. So forever, Buffalo Bills were the little brother to the New England Patriots, but obviously the Buffalo Bills
the whole division
have been spanking them in the recent years, and this year's been no different. They just had a hold on it. What I'm going to be interested to see, and where I think it's going to be, I don't know, telling. I honestly don't know, as a Buffalo Bill, how this team gets themselves ready for this game, right? Like everything that they went through last week. Like it's I don't know how you recover from that. Like, your brother like literally is still in the hospital, like fighting for his life, and now you got to go play football. Now they may use that as motivation, or professional athletes. I'm sure they can. I think in the end, I think Buffalo comes out and beats Bill Belichick and the Patriots, and puts them aside. Buffalo is definitely the favorite to win this game, because they're better. They're better on all fronts. But this game coming down to these two teams, I think it's going to be a lot about how does Buffalo respond to what they just experienced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I actually I think that Buffalo will use this as motivation, because keep in mind their guy is going to be he's alive. You know what I'm saying? He's going to make it. So I think the fact that he does make it, that plays a lot in it. And I think they do come out motivated, and I tend to agree. I think Buffalo comes out and wins this game. This game is, so they played earlier in the year in New England. So they beat them in New England. So now they're in Buffalo. I think with the stakes that they have and the fact that their guy made it and using that for motivation, I do think they come out and they handle.
Yeah. I mean, look. Obviously, it's you win, and for the Patriots, win and you're in. Buffalo's already clinched at a minimum. I think it's the 2 seed. Maybe potentially the 3rd, but if they win this game and Kansas City loses, which is wild, to the Texans.
No, the Texans. I don't know who they play this week, but it's not the Texans. Keep going though. I'll tell you.
But Buffalo ends up. Let me know. But Buffalo ends up having the opportunity for that number 1 seed, right? Yeah, Raiders. They play the Raiders today. Actually, yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, so I think they'll win they win the tiebreaker over Kansas City. So that'll be interesting. And tell me, for our viewers, because wild with the canceled game from Buffalo and Cincinnati, some of the scenarios that play into like neutral fields and stuff like that. So
yeah, we've never really seen that. But I will say this. I want to say 2 things. One, once again, I would be very happy to watch the Patriots miss the playoffs. That's first and
Yeah.
foremost. But two, the one good thing about the Colts, this is my Super Bowl for what the Colts did all year because it wasn't much. The Colts looked at that and said, "No, they're not playing that game here." So if Buffalo wins and Kansas City wins, they're going to play at a neutral site. My Colts said
for the
if you
AFC
ain't gonna be
Championship.
there,
Yep.
neither are you, and I am proud of that. Thank you. You can't play
so
here.
for the
No.
for the AFC Championship, if Buffalo and Kansas City make it to the AFC Championship, neither one gets home field. They play on a neutral field, which is just wild. We haven't seen that. And the other game I wanted to talk about, I know we didn't bring it up much, not to talk about who's going to win, but specifically for seeding purposes and home field purposes, is Cincinnati plays the Lamar-less Baltimore Ravens. So Lamar's not playing again, but they play this week. And if somehow Baltimore pulls out a victory, next week, Cincinnati and Baltimore play each other. I think they play each other anyway, no matter what next week, but they play each other. And for home field advantage, they're going to flip a coin.
That would be crazy.
To see who ends up getting home field advantage. So if Cincinnati wins, they just get home field advantage because they'll have the better record. But I think it's pretty wild that, again, that canceled game, rightfully so. I think they should have canceled it, but definitely has created some difficulties and challenging in the scheduling and the playoffs for the NFL.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, that happens. But I mean, that's why we didn't talk about it, was because Lamar's not playing, So.
Yeah, before we move, I know we got other things to talk about, but the Lamar thing's interesting to me, right? Does he come back for the playoffs? Or does he just say, screw it? I'm not getting hurt on that field. You're going to pay me. You're going to pay me, Baltimore, or I'm leaving and someone's going to pay me.
Well, Baltimore needs to pay him. I mean, have you seen Have you seen what's happened since he's been here? Baltimore he is clearly what is holding that team together.
I don't think in 5 games they haven't scored more than 17 in the game. It's just not looking good. They've won a few of it, but just offense. I mean, the offense was kind of sputtering while he was still there, but they were better. They were just, night and day better.
They were at least 7 points better. They were at least 7 points better.
They were better. They can't do anything. It's good. He's definitely getting paid. But honestly, at this point in his career, I might just say, you know what? Screw it. You guys didn't want to pay me. I'm leaving, and I'm going to get paid by another team. And Baltimore, good luck in the playoffs this year. Losing. Right? I might be spiteful like that. Screw professionalism. Done.
I'm spiteful by nature. I'm nice. I am very nice, but I am also very spiteful. So I understand that. You don't want. Okay, well, I'm going to do something to hurt you now. Okay.
Yeah, it's great. So, I'm not getting hurt on that field. I mean, he's got it's a $250 million payday coming to him or more, something crazy. Pretty wild. Baltimore put that. It's their bed. They made it. They did not give him the contract before the season. We talked about this. They should have. And here they are. They got to lay in it, man. They're going to probably lose the first round of the playoffs because there's no chance. I don't think he's playing. He's not going to come into a playoff run and be like, oh, let's go make a run at this now without a contract. I don't think it's going to happen.
Right. All right, cool. Well, that's what we got for week 18. And which kind of gives us a little segue into what we want to talk about. Or this is why I was so excited about this. So we always give shout outs to the top dogs, the big dogs. We know who they are. You know what I mean? I know who the Eagles are. I know who Cincinnati is. I know who Buffalo is. I know who Kansas City is. I know who Dallas is. I know who Minnesota is. I know these teams. I want to know. What we're gonna do is we're gonna have a draft style picking of teams that say they're the most dangerous, and these top dogs maybe don't want to play them as much. I'm not saying they're scared. What I'm saying is they need to look at these teams as a real threat to them. So we're taking teams that are 8-8. So even if you win your division and you're 8-8, we still say that that's not a great record. That's not what you look for. So if you're 8-8, we look at it and say, okay, you can come in even if you win your division and all of the wild card teams.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like this. It's definitely going to be interesting. And you're talking about these teams that are just hot and on fire right now, teams that can actually just, come in, upset you, upset these big dogs, right? So you got, looking at this right now, just with the NFC, I mean, you got, the 49ers, you're a number 2 seed, you're the 49ers, you're the Bills, you might be a number 2 seed. right? And you have these teams that you're going to play at 7. Like, who's getting in at 7? We just talked a bit about the Packers and the Lions, and or Seattle, right? One of those 3 teams is going to be 7. If you're the 49ers and you end up with that 2 seed, which team you're like, no, please,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
please
Like, I don't
do
really
not be that. I really
not
don't
that
want to
team.
play. I know you're
Exactly.
coming at home, and I think the 49ers probably beat any of them, but all right, where do we want to start? We'll give you your show, your main host here. We'll give you number 1 pick. Who is your number 1 team? And you're like, no, please. If my Indianapolis Colts were the number 2 seed or in the playoffs, who the hell do I not want to play?
Well, I just got to laugh at that a little bit.
We'll see that maybe one day eventually.
So my number 1 pick actually is me eating a little bit of crow. My number 1 pick is actually the Los Angeles Chargers.
Oh wow, you've forever said.
Here's my thing. They got to 10-6. They've had some games winning where they won some games. They have a quarterback that you can look at him and say, all right, so if he's playing against Patrick Mahomes, or he's playing against Josh Allen, or he's playing against Joe Burrow, he can play with them. You know what I'm saying? You have that quarterback, you got a defense that is playing up to its potential right now, and you have a running back that I feel as though once again can go in and get things. So they can shrink the score and they can put up points. And I think anybody that is playing them, I don't think that you really want to see them right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Chargers are 10-6 for a reason. They clinched. I think they're in the 5th seed no matter what. I don't think they're moving from that. Right. So they're gonna play Tennessee Titans or the Jaguars. So I don't think they're necessarily scared about either one of those teams either. Coming in from the wild card piece. No, I agree. I think the Chargers they're dangerous going into this playoffs, but we've actually known they're going to be pretty dangerous if they made it in, and they did what they need to do to get there. Okay. All right, cool. I got to go. I'm going back in the NFC. There's 2 teams over there that completely terrify me as a Cowboys fan. And I'm just going to go with it now. We talked about this before, but the goddamn Tampa Bay Buccaneers, to be completely honest with you. Because this is how it's playing out. We talked about it. Tampa Bay's got the 4th seed, NFC South champs. They're 9-8, or they're going to likely be 9-8, 8-9. Doesn't matter what the record is. They're number 4. But the way it's going to play out is the Cowboys are going to end up in the 5th seed. That's what they're not going to get to the 2 seed or whatever. I think they have a chance to get to the 2 seed or actually win the division or win the conference if both the Eagles and the 49ers lose. Obviously, the Cowboys are playing the Eagles this week, but if the Cowboys win, they beat the Eagles this week.
The Giants are playing
them. Excuse me. If the Cowboys beat the Commanders this week, and the Giants beat the Eagles. And the Cowboys can win the division and get to the number 2 seed. And if the 49ers actually lose, they can actually get to the 1 seed. But with all that said, Cowboys likely are going to be the 5 seed, right? They're going to end up the 5 seed. They're going to play Tampa Bay. And that's goddamn Tom Brady. He is going to be the bane of my existence. This is exactly what's happening. The Cowboys are going to go 12-4, 13-4, whatever the hell it is, and lose round 1 to Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, and all I'm gonna have to freaking do for the rest of the year is listening to Stephen A. Smith just laugh and laugh and laugh, and it's going to be typical Cowboys fan. This is me already. So Tom Brady's my pick. It's not even Tampa Bay. I mean, Tampa Bay has not been good all year long, but they had a bad division. They made it to the playoffs. They did what they needed to do. And this is going to be the freaking, what is it, the 06 or whatever Giants, when whatever year they were barely scraped into the playoffs and beat Tom Brady for that perfect season. That Tom Brady's going to do that to the Cowboys coming in on this league.
That's a good pick right there. I'm not even going to lie to you.
Exactly what's happening.
They might, if you didn't take them.
We're going to talk next week, and now you're going to see I'm going to be miserable. I'm going to be miserable.
But okay, all right, cool. No, that's a good pick. All right. So for my 2nd round pick, let's go back to what you said. When I picked the Chargers, you said they're gonna play either the Titans or Jaguars. My 2nd pick is the Jaguars.
Yeah, Jaguars.
I think their team, once again, Trevor Lawrence, he's looking. Listen, if we're gonna be honest, I actually like teams that don't have a top five wide receiver, which they don't. Actually, their wide receiving core is bad, and you can't tell. So
Yeah,
I'm looking at them. I'm looking at them. And I'm looking at the of how they run the ball. I mean, they released Robinson from last year, and it hasn't even affected their running game. They traded him. So what I'm saying is their running game.
that ETN kid is good. Yeah,
CTN is real good, and I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence, and I'm like, and you know how I like quarterbacks that aren't getting paid. So no top five wide receivers, quarterbacks aren't getting paid top of the market. I look at that. I see them being a team that's like whoever wins that first round matchup between who we think is Jacksonville and the Chargers. I think whoever they play, they better be on upset alert. I don't care who they play the next round. They're on upset alert.
yeah. I mean, look, yeah. I mean, I think they're playing the Chargers. I think they're playing the Chargers, right? So they beat the Titans today, the Jaguars. So I like the pick because I think we talked about this earlier. Trevor Lawrence is, he hit his stride. They've won 4 straight games. They're actually 5 out of the last 6, losing to Detroit a couple weeks back. But yeah, I think Justin Herbert and the Chargers, if they match up with Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, I think they win. I think you just said they're a better team as well, but you're right, man. I think if the Jags get through that game, they've been playing a little bit better defense, to be honest with you. They did give up 34 to the Cowboys, but they scored 40, so they can still put up points. Mm-hmm. So no, good pick. That'll be an interesting one when we see those playoffs matches. Again, once you get into the playoffs, it doesn't matter. Anything can happen, man. All you got to do is get a ticket to the show.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't think we did this on purpose, man, but you stuck in the AFC. I'm going back to the NFC as far as those teams, right? I have it's the Packers. Packers are going to get in. They're going to beat the Detroit Lions today or this weekend. And again, I think I've always gone back to this time and time again, and probably this is why I'm terrible at picking games, but the quarterbacks, right? You said it earlier. You got Aaron Rodgers, who's playing good football. His wide receivers, his young core wide receivers are starting to really show up and play football. But then you still have that man, Aaron Jones. They are learning how to run the football. I don't remember the exact stat, but it was something crazy that the Green Bay Packers, if they run the ball more than like 50% of their plays or something like that, they're undefeated.
Yeah, I thought that was the same thing. I thought that you were going to say. Like, I don't remember that happened, right?
Yeah, like I feel like someone in a stat room's got to be like, hey, coach, when you do this 50% of the time, run the ball, never lost the game. Like I know game circumstances dictate it. Sometimes you have to try to throw to come back and stuff like that. You're down big, but you should probably just start. That's the game plan. Try to run 50% of your plays. So. And again, it's one of those years where it feels like if Aaron Rodgers gets in, he's going to go likely to San Francisco. And while San Francisco's defense is great, like honestly, they're the best and most well-equipped team.
The quarterback matchup.
You might just
different.
This is where Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys that'll figure out how to pick you apart and beat you, and then you put a good I don't know. Like I got to look at Brock Purdy's stats at scoring. I know he's been playing pretty well, but San Francisco is not a team where you're like, hey, 40, they're going to drop 40 on you, right? Like it's going to be like 17. You keep them under 17, Aaron Rodgers can figure out how to score 24.
Right. I think that's a very underrated thing about Aaron Rodgers' game. That even though he knows in games where he knows, all right, the score is going to drop. He's the kind of guy that like knows, all right, this is how I can do just enough to get enough points. You know what I mean? And I think Aaron Rodgers has shown that ability time and time again. When the score is going to drop, it's going to be, you know what I mean? This team's going to get 17. They expect us to get 17. All right, well, here's our 20. You know what I mean? So that's a good pick. That's a good pick, Tim. That's a good pick. You're keeping on the heat on me.
Yeah, you know why? Because I've been paying attention to this NFC as the Cowboys are going to end up playing one of these teams.
Okay. So here for my third round pick, I'm actually going to go over to the NFC now, and I'm going with those Detroit Lions.
I know, man. They were
I
if you didn't
listen,
pick them,
listen, listen. When
they
I
were on
look
my
at
next one.
hold on. Once again, let me explain this. Once again, if Detroit gets in, their first round matchup is going to be either San Fran or the Vikings. Brock Purdy is not a better quarterback than Jared Goff. And once again, I look at that matchup. I say, yo, Detroit's they've been putting up points on everybody. Can they get that 20 points even if or can they get 24 even if I mean they don't figure out, or just because of the playoffs and the first time he's in it, that offense starts to sputter, and now all of a sudden they're like, we can only get up like 20 points. You know what I mean? Can they do that? Absolutely. And the Vikings, I'm gonna be honest with you, the Vikings want nothing to do with Detroit more than Green Bay. I think the Vikings want nothing to do with Detroit coming in saying, "Yup, let's get to it." And you know what I mean? They're just that team. It's got that combination that they don't want to see. And once again, Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins. The
Yeah.
quarterback matchup is not necessarily in Minnesota's favor, and I think that's a huge thing. So my third round pick, the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, man. I don't think they're getting in. But we talked.
That's
They've been our
fine. That's
favorite. They've
fine.
been our
That's
favorite team on this whole show, and I'm rooting for them. I hope they do. I agree. I think if they get in, I don't know. I mean, look, if they get in, they go to San Francisco. I don't think they're dropping. I don't think the Detroit Lions are the team that's going to drop the 40 on San Francisco to beat them. But if they get in and they figure out how to play that team, it'll be interesting. It'll be fun to watch. So let's go. I'll be pumped.
Give me to me. What's your
um,
third round pick? What's your third round pick?
yeah, my third round pick. I'm going to actually shoot over to the AFC as well again. Um, but I'm going with the Steelers. Look, I think with the like to be fair, like we talked about it, the Titans they don't scare me. Miami, I think I know they have a chance to get into the playoffs as well with Patriots loss and them winning, but they haven't been the same team without Tua, and that dude's not coming back. I feel bad for that kid. What's it, 3 concussions in this year? So yeah, like they're going to. I don't think he might not play football anymore, man. Like his brain doesn't seem to want to. It's not. This game's not working out for him as far as the health piece. But you're looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Like just to be fair, they just kind of I don't want to say turning it on, but they're just winning hard nosed football games. Like they're getting back to that like Pittsburgh Steeler hard nosed football games. Starting back with Indy, what's that, week 12 or whatever? They're 5-1. Beat Indy, beat Atlanta. They lost to Baltimore, but in a tough game. And then Carolina, Las Vegas, and like Baltimore, just winning hard nosed football games. And to if they somehow get into the playoffs, they need some help to get there. But if they end up getting to the playoffs, what do they end up having, that 7th seed?
Mhm.
And they're going to play. I mean, look, they're going to play the Buffalo Bills or I think Kansas City.
Right,
It's going to be, they're going to have a tough road ahead of
right,
them.
right.
But hey, we talked about this again. If you get there, once you get to the show, you get an opportunity. It doesn't matter. You're playing one game a week, and you can figure out how to game plan for, very difficult, but game plan for Josh Allen or a
No,
Patrick Mahomes and figure out how to stop
yeah,
them enough to win a football game. I mean,
yeah.
Mike Tomlin's been a great coach for a reason.
Listen, I like that pick, and it's because they're playing that Pittsburgh Steelers kind of game. The defense is
Mhm.
clearly what's carrying this. They got a running game that, for whatever reason, you can't stop, and they got this quarterback who may not be the most talented, may not be the best in the league, but they trust him, and he's gonna and he makes the right decisions. It's a spread around kind of game. You don't really know who's gonna be getting the ball. I actually like that pick. Actually. All right, so only because we got to hurry up, only because of time wise, I'm just going to sprint through this. My fourth pick. So
Yeah.
my fourth pick, actually, my fourth pick is gonna be the Baltimore Ravens, and that's depending on Lamar definitely playing. If they definitely play, I just think that running game, that defense, the quarterback, I think they got a puncher's chance against anybody.
hmm Yeah. If Lamar plays, I agree. I do agree. Without Lamar, I didn't even look at him as a possibility to
Mhm.
even come close in
I'm
in one
saying
of
that
these playoff
depending
games.
on
Yeah,
Lamar
I
play.
gotcha. I mean, look, they're going to play Joe Burrow in the playoffs, like no matter what. So without Lamar, Joe Burrow's going to smoke them. No, I feel you that, and just quickly, the other one I would have, I know the Giants are in, they're not. I'm looking at them here. They don't necessarily scare me to get any teams, but let's go with the. I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks. If somehow they pull it off again, I mean, Geno Smith is having himself welcome back to the NFL. Been playing hit well. Pete Carroll's figured out they look like geniuses over there in Seattle. Letting Russ go, getting all the capital back, and letting Geno have his way. But they win, get lucky this weekend with the Packers loss. They end up in that 7th seed. Again, they're going to San Francisco. Going to be a ridiculous,
Yeah,
likely San Francisco.
yeah.
It might not be them, but going to be a ridiculous road. But hey, once you're in, you got a chance. So
Okay. So you picked for your teams. You picked. Tell me your teams again that you picked.
I got Tampa, the Packers,
Mhm.
Steelers, Seahawks.
Okay. And I picked the Chargers, the Jaguars, the who the heck? Oh, the Lions, and the
And the
Ravens.
Ravens.
So I think that's
Okay.
pretty good. You know what I mean? We got a limited time at the moment, so we do gotta, get
Yeah.
through this. But I think this has been an amazing show. Uh Once again, we're gonna tune back in next week and we'll see what happened. I'm very curious to see these outcomes, Tim. And once again, I
All
knew
right,
this,
brother.
but as I said, as always, Timmy, cuz you know football.
Ah, man. Week 18, playoffs are here.
All
Always a pleasure, Tariq.
right, brother. I'll see you next week.
Ah, man. We'll talk.
Later.